that we want to reduce over-reliance on borrowing. On the other end, on the 5th schedule, it says one of the functions of this board is to borrow. That is already a contradiction. Mr. Speaker, number 2, a good law comes with fairness. Anybody who does not have 15 years experience, young people, cannot be eligible to be part of this board. Mr. Speaker, a good law must show fairness. Young people who are graduates, economists in this country, they have a contribution that they can give on any financial issue in this country. When you say you must, being eligible to be a member of this board, you must have 15 years experience, part of the members in this house do not have even the 15 years experience, while they make good laws for this country, that some of them are approved in this floor. And Mr. Speaker, allow me also to say that the law, the bill as proposed is very ambiguous. It doesn't fall under state corporation. It doesn't say it's a treasury instrument. It is neither a government-owned enterprise. It is just a board. It lacks clarity because you must mention, and in law, you just have to say, what is it? A fund for what? For instance, today, Mr. Speaker, when you go to the NGCDF board, the drafters of that law and what has come to be of it, of the NGCDF board, first of all, because of the kind of money it deals with, it is members of the board are approved by this parliament. This bill does not give an opportunity for this parliament to approve the board. It is the CS who just gazettes what was heard by saying, even if they are appointed, they must be approved by this parliament. We have the power of the past. And remember, there is borrowing. The word borrowing is mentioned in this bill. Mr. Speaker, one of the objectives is that we reduce over-reliance on borrowing. Mr. Speaker, in this House, for the NGCDF board, or rather for the NGCDF fund, we even approved the constituency committee. We approved the board, the committee. This particular law, the executive appoints, the executive gazettes. There is no mention of the National Assembly, where we have the representatives of the people. Mr. Speaker, you're talking of doing infrastructure project. When you talk of commercial viability, Mr. Speaker, we lead different constituencies. Kajiado North might not have commercial viability of certain aspects. For instance, dams. Mr. Speaker, where do you live Kajiado North? Because when you talk of commercial viability, it is not a must that all constituencies have commercial viability. And potential is not only in commercial viability. Mr. Speaker, this is another introduction of the sessional paper that members talk about here that say they are high potential areas. It's another way of saying that there are areas that have more potential than other areas, and therefore you're setting up a fund to fund those areas. Mr. Speaker, what is even more alarming, that if you're a member of parliament and you lose your seat, you cannot be a member of this board. Why discriminate on members of parliament? Or even any other political leader, you've been a governor. Mr. Speaker, part of the many good introductions of legislation that were introduced for NHIF and approved by this parliament, the governor for Marsabit was the chairman for the NHIF board. He was commended for introducing legislation. He was a member of parliament. When he lost, he served in the board. Mr. Speaker, I have never seen such an inconsistent legislation as the one that is proposed today. And I want to urge members of this House, we cannot give one person the ability to decide which projects goes where, what are we funding, because we are just giving the president the ability to use this money like a campaign tool. This will be very wrong. This House should be able to approve both expenditure and borrowing. And Mr. Speaker, it is against the Public Finance Management Act to borrow outside this parliament. It is only parliament that approves borrowing. And even county assemblies, when they want to borrow, they must borrow using the guarantee from the National Treasury. Mr. Speaker, this law lacks any clarity. It is not consistent. And when...
Your time is...
I hope I still hold the position.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'll begin first and foremost, of course, with tremendous respect, respond to my colleague and learned senior, the Honorable Karoli Omondi, and I do not know why he's actually read this particular article and left some sections which were very vital in the reading. Honorable Speaker, when you read Article 206, 1A, there is established the consolidated fund into which shall be paid all money raised or received by or on behalf of the national government, except money that, and that is A, I don't know why you omitted A deliberately, is reasonably excluded from the fund by an act of parliament and payable to another public fund established for specific purpose, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, except from the fund by an act of parliament. An act of parliament, Honorable Speaker, is made by this House. Our responsibility as a House, Honorable Speaker, I actually enshrined under Article 95 of the Constitution, where we legislate. Once we legislate, we make acts of parliament upon being assented to by His Excellency the President. So when we say, when the Honorable Karoli Omondi tells or misleads this House that if we pass this, it will be entirely unconstitutional, then he's actually running away from his own responsibility. You are passing an act of parliament that then gives power to this particular article, Article 261A. And that is what we are doing today, Honorable Speaker. But having said that, Honorable Speaker, you know, we need to be very careful on how we do our politics. We all come from regions and represent places, Honorable Speaker. We suffer from poor road network across the country, especially those of us who represent rural constituencies, Honorable Speaker. We need to ask ourselves this question. Do we continue putting this country into further debt by further borrowing, Honorable Speaker? Do we overburden the taxpayers, you know, through overtaxation, Honorable Speaker, so that you can be able to mitigate the challenges of poor road network? Those are the questions that we need to, that should be answered by this particular proposal of the National Infrastructure Fund, Honorable Speaker. And any person who genuinely needs a road, any person that genuinely needs this country to progress, Honorable Speaker, I mean, should be supporting this whole concept of national, the creative way of making or raising these funds, Honorable Speaker, so that we can be able to, you know, to mitigate this challenge that we are facing. Because the question is imposing additional taxes or further borrowing. Those are the only two things or two options that we have, Honorable Speaker, to raise funds. If we do not use those two options, Honorable Speaker, then the third option is to create or come up with an innovative mechanism, which we are doing through the National Infrastructure Fund, and then we legislate about it, and then we make it, we pass through it, it becomes a good bill, then it's ascended by the President. You know, so we should be discussing on the content of the structure of leadership, the Honorable Karoli Omondi, in the committee of the whole, so that we are able to, as part of the structure, especially the governance structure of the NIF, that is the question of the structure of governance of the funds, and that can always, you can propose it as we go to the committee of the whole. Not really saying the whole concept is bad, it's bad law. You really can't do that, Honorable Speaker. So with those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support this and urge the House to support it as it is. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Order. Speaker, for giving me this. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice into this bill. First and foremost, I want to say that it is a good initiative, but I have observations which must be included and improved on for this bill to really serve Kenyans from an objective perspective. Number one, the bill doesn't clearly define infrastructure fund. I find it a little bit ambiguous because when we are talking about infrastructure fund, from what I have read in a paragraph, it is going to take care of roads, there is energy, there is transport, there is air transport and the like. So the bill should clearly come out how each and every segment is going to be supported or financed. That is a gap that is missing in this bill. Number two, Honorable Speaker, I look into this bill and we know very well that in Kenya, we have two tiers of government. That is the county government and the national government. At the same time, we have various ministries that are providing for the various infrastructural services that has been highlighted in the bill. The bill must come out clearly, the role and the interrelationship in which is going to come out clearly on how the county government and the national government is offering services on this line. Number 3, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that there is a big issue of pending bills which we know that is facing this country. And this is not only limited to services provided, but also inclusive of the infrastructure facilities. How is the bill going to address this? Number 4, Honorable Speaker, I find there is also a big gap. The bill tends to concentrate so much on the roles of the board, which is not specifically highlighted and anchored into specific laws. When we have the CES appointing some parts of the statement, the CES may. That is not obvious. That is not authentic. There is no authenticity in the proposal, which if there is, that should clearly guide, so that we know when we are talking about resource mobilization and not exposing the citizen into the risk of higher taxation and not interfering with the funds that are already released under exchequer, and also ensuring that other bodies charged with the responsibility of offering the infrastructural services are not interfered with. Honorable Speaker, this brings me to support the part that the controller of budget, the oversight is not clearly explained and highlighted. And this House should ensure that when we'll be reaching the third reading, the gaps that may be glaring in terms of not capturing how this fund will be oversighted, how these funds will be anchored into law, because it is a good move. We know that we have water shortages, we have inadequate road networks, we have problems with even our airspaces, and this has to be addressed. So, Honorable Speaker, I say it is a good initiative, but has a lot of generalities, too ambiguous, no clarity, that this House must take the role of ensuring that this bill doesn't die, but includes the component